This chapter is called The Poets. That connection, well, it's not so obvious, so let's see if we can unravel that, shall we?
These stories, they might be ancient,
Right.
but the themes, they're so relevant, even today.
Oh, absolutely.
Faith, doubt, rejecting truth. It's like a mirror reflecting these timeless human struggles.
Yeah, it's like looking at ourselves, across time.
Exactly.
And the chapter really starts off strong, emphasizing the Quran's message right from the beginning. Then, after nearly every prophet's story, it's like this heartbeat, the same line. Surely in this is a sign, but most of them are not believers. Why this emphasis, do you think?
Well, the Quran, it emphasizes this idea of signs, right?
Yeah.
Clues about God's presence, power, both in the world around us and in history. Think of it like flashing neon lights trying to grab our attention.
I like that.
But despite these clear signs, so many choose to just turn away.
Yeah.
And this repeated phrase, it really drives home this point, this central point.
Okay.
Choosing disbelief, it has consequences.
It's like a wake-up call, isn't it?
Exactly.
Pay attention.
Yeah.
This stuff matters, and it's not just ancient history.
Right.
It's about how we respond to the signs around us today.
Exactly. It's a nudge, to think about our choices,
Okay.
our beliefs, and what we decide to trust in.
Now let's talk about these incredible stories. The showdown between Moses and Pharaoh. Oh, it gets me every time.
Classic.
Moses scared at first, when God calls on him.
Right.
But then he's reassured, empowered to face Pharaoh.
Wow.
And Pharaoh, he's all about power, all about disbelief.
Oh, yeah. It's like this clash of titans,
Totally.
faith versus worldly might.
And then
Yes.
Pharaoh, he challenges Moses to this magical duel. It's like he's daring God to prove himself.
Right.
So you have these magicians, they throw down their staffs, they turn into snakes, they're trying to one-up Moses.
Yeah.
But then, get this, the magicians, they see the truth of God's power.
Oh, wow.
And they convert right there on the spot.
Can you imagine Pharaoh's face at that moment?
Furious.
That image of Moses' staff swallowing up all the magician's tricks? It's like truth just devouring falsehood, right?
Powerful image.
Powerful stuff. And then, of course, the Israelites.
Yeah.
This miraculous escape, the sea parting before them and Pharaoh's army, swallowed by the waves as they try to chase them.
It's a story about good over evil, about faith overcoming oppression.
It's a blueprint for us,
Right.
Like, have faith even when the odds are stacked against you. A message that resonates just as strongly today as it did thousands of years ago.
Oh, absolutely. That yearning for justice, for freedom, for a power that can overcome anything.
It's universal.
Okay, now let's move on to Abraham.
Okay.
This man, known for his unwavering faith in one God, that was a radical idea back then.
Oh,
He questions his own father,
wow.
his entire society about their idol worship. Can you imagine the guts it took to do that?
Abraham's story is a masterclass in courage and conviction.
It is.
Imagine that, challenging your entire society's beliefs.
I know, right?
His faith, it was revolutionary.
Absolutely.
It was a total departure from the norm. Back then, pretty much everyone believed in multiple gods.
Yeah.
So his insistence on worshiping just one God, that was a game changer.
And he does it with such eloquence,
He did.
such conviction.
Yeah.
That powerful declaration of faith in the one God who created him sustains him.
Yeah.
It gives me chills just thinking about it. But there's another side to Abraham, too.
Oh, yeah.
This deep compassion,
Yes.
He pleads for his father's forgiveness, even though his dad was completely set in his wrong beliefs.
It's fascinating.
It is.
He embodies both intellectual curiosity and unwavering faith.
Yeah.
He challenges us to question, to seek truth beyond just blind tradition,
Right.
but to do it with compassion.
I like that a lot.
Think about it. How often do we, encounter someone with different beliefs
Yeah.
and just shut down?
Oh, yeah.
But Abraham, he shows us another way to engage,
Yeah.
even when we disagree.
Right. Now, the chapter also touches on other prophets, too, like Noah, Hud, Salah, Lot, Shuaib,
Yes.
each one facing resistance, mockery, threats.
They were all incredibly courageous.
They were, but they stayed strong,
Yeah.
delivering God's message despite the pushback.
Their stories might be shorter, but they all have this powerful message. You see
Yeah.
this constant battle between truth and falsehood.
Right.
And in the end, you see divine intervention stepping in.
They might have seemed like lone voices, but those stories, they offer us a timeless lesson.
What's that?
Even when things are tough, truth has a way of winning out.
Absolutely.
One detail that always gets me is the people of Adaid.
Oh, tell me about it.
They were obsessed with building, like, giant monuments on every hilltop just to show off.
Like an ego trip on a massive scale.
Right. They were so focused on, leaving their mark on the physical world that they totally missed the point.
It's like they built all these impressive structures, but their souls, they were impoverished.
It makes you wonder, like, what are we building in our own lives,
That's a great question.
Are we focusing on things that truly matter?
It's like those people who are always chasing likes and followers online.
Oh, totally.
What are they really searching for?
Right. Are they building genuine connections or just a facade?
It's so easy to get caught up in the superficial.
It is. But these stories, they remind us to seek something deeper.
Yes.
Something more meaningful. Okay, so we've got these stories, prophets standing up for what they believe in,
Right.
facing resistance, seeing divine intervention. But here's the million-dollar question.
What's that?
How does this connect back to the chapter's title, The Poets? It seems a little out of left field.
You're right. It is a bit of a head-scratcher.
Right. That's where the chapter's concluding verses get interesting, right?
You do.
They paint this seemingly negative view of poets. They ramble, they say what they don't do, they're followed by deviators. But before we jump to conclusions, there's this important caveat.
Oh.
So it's not all poets being called out here.
Interesting. So who are the exceptions?
And what makes them different?
Good questions.
Hold on, we'll be right back after a short break.
It's not poetry itself that's being condemned. It's the misuse of language.
Oh.
The verses, they critique those who use their eloquence for deceit. Vanity, spreading falsehood.
So it's like weaponizing words.
Exactly. It's condemning those who prioritize style over substance. The ones who talk the talk, but don't walk the walk.
Right. It's about the responsibility that comes with that power of language.
Yes. Words. They can build up or destroy, inspire, or mislead.
And that takes us back to those recurring verses.
Oh, yeah.
Surely in this is a sign, but most of them are not believers. These stories, these signs, what are they trying to tell us today?
It's about recognizing those signs and responding, with humility.
Humility, okay.
Think about those prophets. Immense opposition.
Yeah.
But they remained steadfast
in
their faith. They kept delivering God's message.
Right.
They never let pride or arrogance dictate their actions.
So it's not enough to just see the signs, right?
Yeah.
We have to be humble enough to learn from them.
Yes. To be open
to
the possibility that maybe, just maybe, we don't have all the answers.
It's hard sometimes.
It is.
Admitting you don't know everything.
But that's the beauty of humility.
Oh, okay.
It opens us up, to growth and understanding. And it's not just about religious faith either.
Right.
It applies to life.
To everything.
If we're always so sure that we're right, how can we ever learn anything new?
It's like that saying, the only true wisdom is knowing you know nothing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Being open to new information, different perspectives, even criticism. That's how we grow, become better.
Speaking of becoming better versions of ourselves, there's another theme I see running through these stories.
Okay, what's that?
Standing up for what's right, even when it's hard.
Oh, yeah.
These prophets, constantly ridiculed, threatened, even ostracized for what they believed in, but they never backed down.
No.
This incredible courage, this commitment to truth and justice.
They understood that silence, in the face of wrong, is basically the same as agreeing with it.
Right.
Their stories, they challenge us to be brave.
Yeah.
To speak out against injustice.
To fight for change.
Even when it feels like we're standing alone.
It can be overwhelming, though.
Oh, I know.
Right. Like these huge battles, systemic injustice, global warming. It's like, how can I make a difference?
And that's when we remember, you don't have to solve every problem single-handedly.
Right.
Sometimes the most impactful things, they're the small, everyday choices we make.
The small things.
Speaking up against prejudice.
Yeah.
Challenging discrimination. Supporting those who are marginalized.
Okay.
It may seem small.
Yeah.
But they create ripples.
It's about integrating those values.
Exactly.
Truth, justice, compassion.
Into our daily lives.
Walking the walk, not just talking the talk.
And that's where the connection to the poets becomes really profound, I think.
Okay, how so?
It's like saying we're all storytellers, whether we realize it or not. Our words, our actions, our choices, they all contribute to our own story.
Okay.
and they influence the world around us.
So we're all poets, in a sense.
In a way, yes. Using our voices to create.
To make something meaningful.
Yes. To leave our mark.
But that brings up another question, doesn't it?
What's that?
What kind of story are we telling?
That's the question.
Are we using our voices to uplift, to inspire, or are we spreading negativity, division?
It's a choice we all have to make.
It is.
Yeah.
There's one more thing that strikes me about these stories.
Oh, yeah. What's that?
This emphasis on God's mercy and forgiveness.
Oh, absolutely.
Even with all the disobedience.
Right.
The rejection those prophets faced, there's this, glimmer of hope.
Yes.
This possibility of redemption.
It's a beautiful reminder, isn't it?
It is.
That God's mercy is vast, all-encompassing. It's never too late to turn back, to seek forgiveness, to make amends.
It's never too late to try to be better.
And that message of hope, it's so important.
It is.
Especially when we're facing challenges, setbacks. It reminds us that we are not defined by our past mistakes, but by our capacity for growth, for transformation.
For a brighter future.
Exactly.
All right, we've covered a lot.
We have.
Humility, courage, responsibility, and hope. But there's one more piece of the puzzle.
Oh, tell me.
These specific warnings and consequences woven into these stories.
Right.
What are they trying to teach us? And how can we apply those lessons today? It's like the Quran is giving us these cautionary tales, saying, hey, learn from the past or you'll be doomed to repeat it.
You hit the nail on the head. Let's unpack those warnings.
Okay.
Explore their relevance to our lives.
Let's do it.
Buckle up.
All right.
Things are about to get real.
Welcome back. We've talked about humility and courage and responsibility and hope. But these stories, they're not just, inspiring tales. They come with warnings, right?
Yeah. It's like those flashing red lights, alerting us to those pitfalls on our own journey.
Right. So let's get real, okay? What can we learn from the consequences? The people who just refuse to listen to the prophets. What happens when people just won't listen?
Well, these stories, they're like cautionary tales, reminding us that choices, they have consequences.
Yeah.
Not just for us, but for our communities, for the world around us. And one thing we see over and over is arrogance. That refusal to acknowledge anything bigger than ourselves.
And that's Pharaoh, right?
Oh, yeah, classic example. Blinded by power and ego. Refused to recognize anything higher than himself.
And it didn't end well for him.
Not at all, no. For him or his army.
It's like that saying, power corrupts and absolute power corrupts absolutely. We see it all the time, even today. Leaders, celebrities, even everyday people, tripped up by their own egos, making decisions that hurt themselves and everyone around them.
It's a timeless lesson,
It is.
We're all susceptible to that.
Yeah.
But it's how we use that power that defines us.
Another warning I see, it's materialism. That constant pursuit of, worldly things at the expense of everything else.
The people of Asalid, for example. Remember them.
Oh, yeah.
Obsessed with those elaborate monuments and fortresses. It was like this giant competition.
It's like they were trying to outdo each other, and that image of them building on every hilltop just to brag. I mean, it's like, are we so focused on, building up our online personas, curating this perfect image that we forget about real connections, meaningful experiences?
It's so easy to get caught up in that.
It is. Their story, it shows how empty that can be, right?
Totally. Chasing external validation, material wealth, it's fleeting.
Yeah. So it's not about denying ourselves nice things or anything like that. It's about finding balance, right?
Exactly.
Enjoying the blessings of the world.
Yeah.
Without letting those things become, everything.
Keeping our priorities straight. Remembering that true happiness, it comes from something deeper.
From aligning ourselves with a higher purpose.
Absolutely. And that higher purpose, it often involves recognizing our interconnectedness, working towards a more just world.
Right. And another lesson, those communities that, cling to injustice and oppression, they face destruction. The people of Lot, for instance. They engaged in those harmful behaviors, rejecting Lot's calls for change.
And that choice, it had devastating consequences.
It reminds us that our actions, they don't just impact us. They ripple outwards, shaping our society. When we ignore injustice or participate in oppression, we become complicit.
It's like ignoring a crack in the foundation.
Wow.
Yeah, eventually the whole thing crumbles.
That's a great analogy.
So these stories, they challenge us to look at the systems we're part of.
To examine our roles.
Are we perpetuating injustice, or are we working to dismantle it?
We all have a part to play.
So as we wrap up our deep dive into the poets, what's the core message here? What do we take away from all of this?
Well, I think the central message is choice.
We're constantly faced with choices. Choices that shape not just our lives, but the world around us. We can choose that path of arrogance, materialism, injustice, which leads to, well, destruction, despair.
Right.
Or we can choose humility, courage, responsibility, hope, which leads to growth, connection, positive contributions to the world.
It's a powerful reminder, we're not just bystanders.
No, we're active participants.
We're shaping our own destinies in the future.
And that brings us back to language, the power of our words to inspire, to heal, to challenge.
To transform, like those poets we talked about, using their voices to promote truth and justice.
You do the same.
It's been amazing exploring these stories with you.
It has.
Uncovering that timeless wisdom.
Thank you for joining us.
And to you, our listener, we leave you with this. In a world full of noise and distractions, how will you use your voice?
Yes, how will you?
To amplify those messages of truth, justice, and compassion. The answer, well, it lies within you.